everybody. The NYXL just kicked off week 3 with a 4-0 victory over the Philadelphia Fusion. Easy money for the Excelsior as they continue on this roll. And we'll see them again on Saturday when they face off against the Valiant. See if LA can slow them down. But on to our next match. We have the Seoul Dynasty going up against the Shanghai Dragons. Woo! I knew it was coming. Now, the Dynasty here in stage 4, they don't seem like they've been the most comfortable with this meta, and one would think that they're trying to use this match as a way to get their footing back under them. They haven't been terrible, but they haven't been winning the matches, and the Pacific Division is kind of getting away from them, so they really need this win. The Shanghai Dragons, on the other hand, they have 6 more games to get that elusive first win. And one would think that if they can do that against anybody, it would be against a struggling Seoul Dynasty team. What do you guys here in the Blizzard Arena think? Yeah? Well, the Blizzard Arena thinks so. Me, on the other hand, I'm not an analyst, so I'm not going to make that prediction, but what I will do is get you guys all watching, prep for the match by sending things over to the desk.
Could today be the day? That is the question on everyone's mind. I'm your host, Golden Boy, joined by Brandon Sideshow. It's okay. So I can't believe, though, that we're in a situation here. Shanghai still looking for that first win. And Seoul Dynasty, of all teams, are struggling right now. This is a team that literally called themselves the Dynasty. Yeah. And they're struggling. And there are folks who do believe that there's a possibility that Shanghai can defeat the Dynasty here today.
Do you know of any?
I think everyone here in the Blizzard Arena believes that.
Fair enough. Malik as well as a previous goal. He had the bait for it, didn't he? He did
you baited me for that one. That was a good one. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, Brent.
Well, I do think that the Shanghai Dragons have looked good on King's Row. Let's start with a positive. It's about the only one I can find for the Shanghai Dragons right now, but they have looked good on King's Row. I wouldn't be particularly surprised if we saw them even at the half, and that puts them in a decent position going forwards. Because when we've seen them play against LA Valiant, they were able to complete the map. Yes, they ended up losing in the time bank, but it was very close there, and Valiant are a decent team. They were actually able to beat Dallas Fuel on this map as well. They lost the others, but King's Row does seem to be a map that they are decent at. So there is an opportunity early on. Now, if they lose King's Row, I've abandoned all faith. But I think that they can start to string that together into potentially the beginnings of something. You know, they say faith as small as a mustard seed can move a mountain, right? And the Shanghai Dragons, I've got faith just tiny.
Smaller than a mustard seed?
Like an atom of a mustard seed.
Okay,
right?
sure.
It's so tiny. It can't move much, but it might get them at least a map win.
Maybe it'll move like a very, like a dilapidated boat or something.
Yeah,
like that,
sure.
Like something, or like a small hill on
a molehill.
A molehill potentially. Man, that is brutal.
Yeah.
Brent, somehow you have to conjure up something to say.
Well, I mean, after following up, I don't know, how do you follow up that beautiful line where you're comparing?
Well, you told me earlier that you think that Seoul might lose this one.
I think there's a possibility there, mate. I genuinely do, because the way Seoul has been performing, and it seems like every time that I have Seoul and I'm sort of like on the desk trying to analyze their play, I'm being overly critical of them and overly harsh, but it's for good reason, because this is a squad that from the get-go we were expecting to be top-notch. They were going to be coming into this season, into the Overwatch League, winning it. They called themselves the Dynasty, This is a squad that everyone was expecting big things from, and we haven't seen them perform. They've just been steadily slipping downwards. They haven't won a game in stage 4 yet. And this is an opportunity now, because I had a feeling, when Shanghai Dragons get their first win, because I think they will at some point, it's going to be against a team that nobody expects it to happen. And Seoul, it might actually happen here today, given how they've been slipping.
Well, I think Seoul are going to be super focused, though. That's the thing, is that these games are must-wins for them because they are racing to get to the top of the Pacific Division and just, honestly, to keep their overall playoff spot at all. Seoul, prior to Stage 4, were easily ahead of the Pacific Division. It didn't look like they particularly had much competition in the middle of the pack. Now they're in 3rd, and it's going to be really difficult for them to get back into that 1st place. And if you're at the top of the Pacific Division, that gets you a bye to the semi-final.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, Seoul Dynasty might end up slipping out of the playoff picture in total. They might end up in that 7th place. They're not quite there yet, but if they continue to lose, and certainly if they lose here today, who are they getting wins against?
Yeah.
So I think Seoul are coming into this knowing that they must win. This is absolutely the definition of a must-win game for them.
This is, for Seoul, this is a matchup that they certainly cannot afford to lose. for the Shanghai Dragons, if they're able to pull off this victory, would be just absolutely nuts. I think this place would become unglued, and we may all lose our hearing.
We'd be trampled to death.
I've never
We
heard
would be
that.
trampled to death. Yes, actually, I do think this is going to happen. Riots in the streets. Okay, so now it's time to bring out your first team here. Ladies and gentlemen of Blizzard Arena, let's welcome to the stage the Seoul Dynasty. Now, again, we highlighted it before. 0-4 in stage 4. Cannot even believe that those are words that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
The Seoul Dynasty 0-4 at the tail end of the inaugural season. Unbelievable.
Now, maybe I painted an unfair picture of Seoul here in my opening statement for them, because they do have an incredible amount of talent on the roster itself. When you think of names like Flitter, like Zumba, these guys are honestly in peak performance right now, in my opinion, in the roles they play. You're scouring, Josh.
They're doing
you're
all right.
disagreeing with me.
I don't think you can be in peak performance if you're going 0-4 in the stage. And
That's
honestly,
true.
I've not been that impressed with even Fletter at the moment, because although I do think he's one of the best flex DPSs, honestly, in the entire league, he has not been having the individual performance to outplay opponents like Birdring, for example, when they came up against the London Spitfire, and even prior to that. But the roster that they fielded right now with Cookie on the main tank, I think is a good look, because when you look back at that London Spitfire game, they did look better when they had Cookie in there.
Yeah, it seemed to just have a little bit more initiative when Cookie was playing that role. Miro plays with a lot less resources when he's playing on that main tank role. I noticed the exact same thing in their game against London and Gibraltar when they subbed in Cookie. They seem to have a lot more of a purpose, and they were playing with instinct now rather than trying to set up these pre-planned strategies. So this is a good sign from Seoul, the fact that they're making, in my opinion, the necessary adjustments.
Yeah, well, they're certainly going to need to, because their opponents will do their absolute best to try and take advantage of it. But now it's time to bring out their opponents for this game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, the Shanghai Dragons. And here come the Dragons now. 0-4 in this stage. Have not won a game yet in the Overwatch League, but they are fishing for that first win. We've seen stranger things happen. And technically, Shanghai is tied with Boston right now, the match record in stage 4. So it does look like Shanghai has gotten a little bit more comfortable this stage.
Well, this is the stage where things are looking odd. You know, Boston, Norton 4, Seoul, Norton 4. The crowd is high for Shanghai. I mean, you've got to feel this energy. It's honestly unreal the amount of support they're having.
They have the most support out of any team in the Overwatch League. Everyone is behind them. You've got to say, for the Shanghai Dragons, the crowd is their 6th player. It's crazy.
It really is. And wow, you say 6th player.
Well, they're 7th player, technically.
Well, I think Josh is just making a little joke there.
No, that was an NBA reference.
Did I stop?
You know.
Did you stutter? Is the answer, mate. I'm not going to dwell on it. We're going to ignore and drift over that one, because the crowd is hyped for this one. For me, if they're going to be taking a win here today, it's the supports on Shanghai Dragons that are going to be needing to step up their game, because the rest of this squad has been trying their hearts out. They've been performing well, and it's the supports, in my opinion, that have always been the weakest link.
Well, it's a communication issue, though, as well, because they normally have this Chinese backline, so I don't think it's even fair to pin it on the supports. They're trying to communicate in 3 languages. It's a mental challenge to overcome.
Well, guys, now it's time to get into the game. Is this it? Can the Shanghai Dragons get the win, or will the Seoul Dynasty come out on top? Let's send it over to your casters for this matchup. It's Uber and Mr. X.
Golden Boy, that is what we are here to see now, of course. 35 losses is not where the Dragons want to be right now, and it is a limping and rather battered Seoul Dynasty roster that we're facing here today. But Matt, we have seen Seoul make some improvements over the last week or so.
Yeah, you know, they've been playing Kuki now. They played Miro last week, and then they put Kuki in towards the end of one of their matches, and he started to play quite well. So we're seeing him here early in this match, going up against Shanghai. Seoul Dynasty, though, is one of 2 teams that has never 4-0'd the Shanghai Dragons. So
the Dragons have never failed to take at least a map
they always get a game
from the Dynasty.
Which, for the Dragons, right, they've struggled to take some maps off of some other opponents, so to consistently take maps off of Seoul is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing them now, the Dragons having transitioned to definitely more of an aggressive style with the entrance, especially of their Korean imports that have joined in now. Obviously, Geggery and Fearless in that front line is creating opportunities for the Dragons to actually be much more of a proactive team. And, that was in a meta as well in last stage, where 5 was much more favored. Now, not so much. You need a pretty even balance between all of them. And Jaehong now will be coming back in, what, his second series of the stage, back on Zenyatta?
Yeah, I think it's like I think this would be his third series.
Okay.
Played Zen all last week. They played Miro in all their matches last week. As we'll see how he fares going up against some of the players on the Dragons. I will say, Fearless versus Kuki is going to be an interesting matchup. I think you can make the argument that Fearless doesn't get, obviously, the support from the overall team, as some of the tanks from Seoul Dynasty have had, in terms of the supports and the DPS kind of all in line. But I think Fearless as an individual player has played quite well.
And his statistics have reflected that as well, Matt. Yep. If we look over a lot of members of the Shanghai Dragons, Dia has struggled in Widow head-to-head so far, throughout the entire season, but especially this stage as well. He has not been able to, overcome a lot of the top Widows that he's gone up against. And I think Fleta will definitely be posing that challenge. That's a very interesting matchup to look at.
Yeah, you expect Fleta to dominate the Widow battle. If Dia is able to hold his own, though, I think this could get a little bit closer than people expect, as Shanghai, they'll play a pretty traditional defense here with the Orisa up on the high ground, with the Junkrat and the Widowmaker sitting behind the shield. It'll be a Rhine Zarya with the double sniper combination here from Seoul Dynasty.
A lot of focus on keeping Jaehong alive here for the Seoul Dynasty. They need to get to the point and set up, force the Dragons to give up the high ground, and hence, of course, the advantage it offers.
You already have Zunba at 100 charge, and they haven't even really, he hasn't really had to work for it, right?
And they can just bombard this barrier quite effectively.
Yeah, I mean, they bubbled Kuki twice there, and he bubbled himself once, and he walks away with 100 charge.
Now, you'd think that Wakid, Matt, wants to get across the point or through the hotel and behind the Dragons to set up that sort of pick we often see Hanzo's getting, but this is a very direct approach from Seoul to start off. No one's really flanking, and Wakid is actually sort of sitting in his back line.
Give up a tick here.
That's one tick. Yep, the Dragons yet to commit to the point. Now they need to drop down. We're going to hear a Riptide let off in a moment here from Damon. It might just be... Kuki was shielded up here, so he needs to bide his time, and unfortunately pulls the trigger a little bit early.
Yeah, I think they wanted to get Zunba with that tire because they know how charged up he is. Right now, the average energy is sitting at 75%, so he's back here. Shooting from range here, Zarya, as it'll be Dia who takes out Fleta, so that's a good sign if you're a Dragons fan.
Yeah, but the ace up the sleeve for Wakid was definitely the scatter arrow inside the little corridor, Matt. He kind of bricks it, doesn't get anything done with it, and Dia finds his second kill. And the Dragons so far are holding up against this onslaught.
The Dragons get a first hold here. So Gambler did use Valkyrie during that, so you're going to have Valkyrie up for the Shanghai Dragons, not close to Transcendence just yet. Jaehong much further along than Freefield here.
Well, we've been doing a lot of healing, Matt, and Seoul have been getting sort of pummeled as they tried to gain any ground. And Dia's playing low ground here, so he might play one pick through the hotel. Wakid, realizing he was there, it's a headshot immediately now. This is risky. If Ultring wants to get across to try and resurrect it, it's way too risky. You don't even do it. You got to play with 5 here now. Ultring actually wants to go for it. He did pop the Valkyrie, but look, Geggery's been desuited and taken down. Dia is back in the fight, but in the compromising spot in that corner.
At that point, you need to put the emphasis on keeping the tanks alive. I don't mind the use of the Valkyrie, but you got to keep Geggery in Fearless alive. Geggery falls as Diva. Now it's going to be very difficult. I mean, you look at Fearless, melting a bad spot here.
Look at him melt, Matt. Zunba has had so much charge. In fact, his average charge so far has been 80%. Soul finally break through.
But they didn't even really have to work for that. I mean, you used your own Valkyrie. You really got nothing out of it. And they didn't have to use their Grav plus Dragon combo. You're going to have another Valkyrie here for Seoul Dynasty.
Was that Valkyrie just to get Ultring the mobility to get across to bring Dia back? Are they overvaluing bringing him back?
Yes, absolutely. At that point, let Dia go to spawn, and then just by the time you heal these tanks up on the point, right, you can res maybe one of them. They would have had a large enough HP pool and enough to survive through all that. At least you make it a little bit more costly for Seoul Dynasty to get the point. Maybe they have to use Grav. Maybe they have to use Dragon.
Again, Wakid is felled by Dia's headshot. Gambler might just duck back to resurrect that, but has to be very careful. Splitter going down now, so maybe pulling the res is... There's no point in that. And look at Zunba. He was off on that left-hand side. He wanted to drop in the back, avoid getting his graviton eaten by Geggery. Now he risks being spotted trying to rejoin his team. He's got a very difficult decision to make.
Oh, he's going to sit here and wait it out. There's not a chance he tries to go back and meet up with the rest of his team. He's going to sit, wait. It's really on the rest of Seoul Dynasty to make the play. And then Zumba's going to finish this up. Now you have walls, though, for Dia, and it's going to be the grab still coming through.
Okay, the Dragon's going to get there in time. Damon gets 2, though, with a Riptide. Zunba and Kuki are actually down, and Shanghai with the Transcendence can hold on in this fight. A big ultimate, in fact, multiple ultimates drawn forth from Seoul. Not with the explosive results they were really hoping for. Freefield's got to be careful, but Jaehong's very far forward there. Protection offered by Geguri as the Zenyatta for the Shanghai Dragons will be ushered backwards to a safer spot for Shanghai to again contest in a moment.
Yeah, Shanghai should have another chance here to fight this. They'll have a self-destruct. Zunba switches off the Zarya. Will go to D.Va here. So you're going to use the D.Va and the close chokes here. Eat a lot of that damage. Damon's putting down. Geguri gets up top. That saves Reveal pretty much right there. Her going to feel that.
Dragon Strike there from Wakit. Damn, that's very quick to have gotten that one so soon. So Damon's down. Jaehong's going for a Transcendence here. I really don't know what the point of that one was. He stood still for a little while. They might just want to continue the fight, give them a little bit more healing. Oh, Cookie's pricked that one as well. No one's affected by the Earth Shatter. And now Freefield can give Shanghai Dragons the healing they need. Seoul really out of sync with each other. The sequencing on some of these ultimates back doesn't make a lot of sense.
I tell you what, they were not ready for that Transcendence. Jaehong used it and then stood there for a second. And then Kookie started to push in after a second or two, just waiting for Jaehong to push up with him. Kookie will switch to Winston now, but I tell you, that's probably not the use of Trance they wanted.
Stage 3, Jaehong actually was the culprit and had the statistics for the highest amount of Transcendences used outside of team fights. That was definitely one of them there, and not something Seoul can afford.
Fearless with that Primal Rage actually forces Gambler to use his Valkyrie. He's actually going to take out Wakid, and it's on the Shanghai Dragons side of the map, so they're not going to be able to even get the res off. So it's a nice use of Primal Rage there from Fearless. So you'll see Wakid switch over to Brigitte now. So now you're going to run the triple support here for Seoul Dynasty. That's probably in a response to Damon switching over to Tracer. We'll see what Damon decides to do. He could go back to Junkrat here if he does die. I think Junkrat would be the answer because you're going up. When they don't have Zarya on the other side, they're running Brigitte. You can run Junkrat and be extremely effective with this spam.
Remember as well, mentioned on the desk, Sideshow said that Shanghai fans should be feeling hopeful if they take this first
Sideshow
away.
says that every Shanghai game.
Yeah, well, at least he doesn't predict them like Brent. D and out.
I don't know what's worse.
I actually don't know what he predicted this time, I have to be honest, so he might not have called that at all. Just before he rage tweets me, because everything I say he likes to respond to on Twitter, just to make sure. Easy bait. Damon's going to sit in the back line for now. As a self-destruct thrown in the barrier. Now as Shanghai really want to push aggressively forward. Kookie's manning the payload, but he's low on health. Geguri a little bit deep. She's being healed though.
She will get D-Mech though, as Kookie's going to earn himself Primal Rage. As he's going in deep, it'll be altering. He's using Valkyrie here. Trying to keep everybody topped up. You have Transcendence here as well for the Dragons.
3 seconds left now. We will be in overtime as the fight continues. Into the back line was an attempt for Damon, but Wiki was there to protect him. Gonna hit that whip shot and make sure that Damon can't get anything done. And now Fearless gonna be dealing with Wakid. Primal Rage. He was stunned for a brief moment, but it wasn't enough to stop him. He's a very angry monkey, of course. Altering, now trying to give a bit of healing towards his backline, and Dia is in position to get some shots. It's not the best angle, but he does need to start to chunk down the bigger bodies on Seoul. Self-destruct thrown to the point that Zuma let that one go. Jaehong's found Dia, and now Wakid's gonna start up Geguri. She will be dissuaded, of course. She had an orb of Discord, and that will be Seoul at least getting to the Foundry stage.
And it'll be a rally used here for Wakid. It was interesting though, and Zunba uses his self-destruct, the first one, to get it onto the point. He's launching it in deep. Kookie actually keeps Freefield alive because he uses the jump pack and he lands on top of Freefield and pushes Freefield down into the subway, which actually, I don't think he would have made it.
It's not about that though.
But hey, it ends up working out for Seoul Dynasty in the end as now Shanghai, they'll switch Fearless onto Reinhardt here, and you'll have Damon go over to Hanzo. So a lot of damage. Interesting, Hanzo instead of Junkrat here. He's not really in the fear of charging up anyone on the other side.
Yeah, it's curious, right? You still play...
well, you usually play Hanzo when you're afraid of just spamming into Zarya bubbles as Junkrat, but with no Zarya on the other side, you can run Junkrat. Any of the negatives that you would have had aren't really there.
Perhaps you don't feel great about your access to high ground because you see that corner on screen is being controlled right now by Zunba. Fletter needs to win some more of these duels against Dia. He's actually been very much behind in the Widow versus Widow battle thus far, even with those wall hacks given by Sonic. Fletter's not able to connect. Now we keep switching off the Brigitte here to the Hanzo. Double snipe here from Seoul.
They'll have Transcendence to push on him. Freefield has his as well. Maycium using here. Geguri, she'll launch her self-destruct up. And that's actually going to be a Dragon Strike that follows it up. It's going to be Gambler the first to die here. Seoul needs to stay on the payload, but they're all falling.
Gambler had Valkyrie at the time as well. a huge healing resource being cut out for the Shanghai Dragons, or for Seoul, should I say. Damon going huge, couple big Hanzo picks there, and now in overtime, it's only Kuki that remains on the payload. He knows he needs to get away. There's no point coming back, and the Shanghai Dragons hold on. Seoul unsuccessful, finishing them up on King's Row.
See, it doesn't matter what jersey everybody's wearing out there, unless obviously a Seoul jersey. You see Gladiators fans, Valiant fans, they're all Dragons fans.
If you're an Overwatch fan, the Dragons are tattooed on your soul.
Oh. I mean, they walk out there, you think it's like a home game for them, right? I mean, everybody's going crazy, the crowd chanting, let's go Dragons now.
There are two types of people, right? There are those people that love an underdog. I think it's like a lot of Australians like that.
Then there's Monties.
Then there is
who just want to see the world burn.
There's just Monty. Those people that want to see the best.
I tend to go a little bit more towards this side. Like, yeah, I want to see Twitter wins.
All right, let's watch your Twitter feed live, bro. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, Seoul have a huge fan base, and what's interesting about these two teams is these teams are very close outside of the game, right?
Yeah.
These guys hang out a lot. I think it was even just over the weekend that they all had dinner together. So there's a lot of camaraderie shared across the stage as well. And I'm quite sure that this is not a match that Seoul can afford to lose. It would be quite a thing. This where Shanghai really entered the Overwatch League as a true contender and got their first win.
I mean, a lot of pressure on Shanghai for obvious reasons, right?
It never gets any easier for them, right? Like it's all that pressure is going to be always built.
No, but does it build for their opponents as well, knowing they don't have many games left, and you don't want to be like the one. Like you would rather it be like 2 or 3. Like you don't want people to look back and be like, oh, who is that one against? And be like, oh, it was them. Like
Listen to this crowd. This is crazy. Yeah. Enjoy that excitement. And again, like it was revealed recently, we heard from Timey on Oversight saying that the Dallas Fuel and the Shanghai Dragons were scrim partners for the longest time because nobody would scrim either of them. So there is that element of surprise that Shanghai can bring where, you know, other teams won't know what they're sort of playing in scrims because they haven't had the chance to see it.
Bring it out. All right. Let's see if Freefield decides to run this. Yep. So this is something we saw the Florida Mayhem do, if you remember. A few weeks back, they ran Bastion on offense here. They get him around the corner. Obviously, we know the things that he can do.
I mean, more than getting kills, it's getting rid of those Orisa barriers quickly. That can be really helpful with a Bastion on your team. But Fleta shuts it down. Now, of course, Freefield, he's going to be brought back to life. A lot of resources being invested in keeping the Bastion running on all cylinders.
I mean, they are really putting emphasis on shield-breaking potential. That'll be Kuki falling because you're now playing a Widowmaker. You're playing Hanzo instead. So you're playing 3 characters who are great against shields with Bastion, Junkrat, and Hanzo.
And there's no shields anymore, Matt.
No.
Kuki's back in sports, and now Shanghai can, put together their staging ground around their Orisa, of course, which Seoul is missing. With Wakid being down, Damon picking him off, we can see that Jaehong is lurking on that left side. Damon is hoping to deal with this Zenyatta very quickly. Jaehong with a sliver of health gets out, but only just.
Well, the Bastion forces him into that back left corner, and then all it is, Damon just chucking grenades out there, and then it's also the Hanzo scanner are going on through. It'll be Transcendence to get onto the point.
Repeal kills not for these Transcendences. Maddie's there to deliver damage. Look at Jaehong getting so aggressive, trying to find him, but Kuki's down, and now we're in the tank mode. Freefill starts to unleash, looking for an airborne Mercy. You'd love that kind of pick. Wakid walks headlong into a rocket shot, and the tank.
And literally,
it's gonna put them out now. And Shanghai are on the road.
Keep it going. Don't go back and switch Freefill. No, he's gonna go back and switch.
Rip the dream. Another support might be helpful here as Seoul. They're definitely going to continue to play a spam-based composition map. Switching to Reinhardt, but they do have the Junkrat. Wakid is ready with a Riptire, and Fleta will still be a factor. Notice that Fleta, that is wrapped around and might like to go and try and go for a flank and pick off a Zen. But he'll run into Damien here if he's not careful, who is also sitting up in the higher levels.
Dia does have the Dragon Strength. Probably uses to split some players off.
Yep, that's the pick. Fleta wraps around, gets free fill. Kuki is down. It's a Dragon Strike that's unassisted, of course, because there's no Zaya in the mix. Gregory's playing that Diva, and Fleta shuts down the Riptide. That's big. Not only finding the Zenyatta early, now he can flank and do so much damage. The Dragons are being pincered.
Yeah, as Dia does fall to Wakid's Riptire, so now you don't have the Hanzo chase up north the high ground. There goes altering. I think Shanghai is going to need to make some changes. You can't let Fleta just go uncontested up here from the high ground.
And what is it? Do they
Dia goes to Widow.
Yeah, they get the Widow, okay.
Yep. So,
All right, they're confident enough to, play Dia into this one. He did have a better half than Flutter in the previous one.
interesting, we even see Dia play Hanzo, right? I mean, we haven't really seen him play much of Hanzo on this. Damon will play Zarya.
Yeah,
so
it's
you're
kind of
gonna
weird,
have,
right? You get rid of the Hanzo, but then you put the Zarya in.
Well, I like this because you can now take advantage of Wakid's Junkrat just spamming through the streets. A little bit, obviously, tank your characters with the 3 tanks in. You're going to be able to eat some shots from Fleta a little bit. They're using Valkyrie. They have to get aggressive on this. Just standing around that corner is going to be a waste of that.
Fleta has a lot of information, and the infra site told him exactly where everyone was. Dia backs up into him. Fleta misses the shot, and then, he runs headfirst into Geggery. Perhaps not sure about where he was. It doesn't matter, though, because Zunda and Wakid let their ultimates go and get 2.
So they use Valkyrie, and they don't even make it around the corner. And then the Riptire comes like... They had a window where Valkyrie was up and the Riptire
Do
wasn't
you
out.
feel like this has been a little bit of a sticking point for Shanghai, Matt, in sort of being able to get aggressive and capitalize on the fact that, okay, we're using Valkyrie now. What do we do with this? How do we make the most of this?
The worst thing you could have done is probably what they did. I mean, even if it wouldn't have been that bad, let's say they used Valkyrie and they just ran in there, and at least Seoul uses maybe one of their support ults, then it's not that bad. At least you traded them. But now you used it and you backed up. Now they're holding on to both of their ults.
Self-destruct, Matt. Look at this charge in. Fearless was actually taken down by Kuki there, so that kind of backfired.
Yeah. So they are building up towards Graph. So you did have Transcendence and Valkyrie used there for Seoul Dynasty. The bad part is now you have Wakid's Riptire, which will come back online. So
we're not even, I guess, criticizing Shanghai for their ultimate economy, which seems to be generally fine.
It's fine.
It's more about how they, how they get aggressive behind them.
Yeah. It's the way in which they use them. Because they have players who can play very good and aggressive playstyle. It's just they're choosing not to do so.
That was very aggressive from Kuki playing up on that corner. He almost got vaporized. Wakid is down. Both Widowmakers actually have those infra sites in play, but now the Earth Shatter, is that enough to stop the follow-up? It doesn't look like it. No! The shield goes down, and so do the rest of Seoul. Fearless brings the Earth Shatter, and Gamble was felled just by the shockwave itself. Shanghai finally break through. They come up with the answer at just the right time.
When they play aggressive, good things happen. Right there, they play aggressive. The Graviton Surge comes down. Damn, it's a big one. I believe it collects 4 players inside of it. And then the follow-up's not exactly there. Fearless lands a big Earth Shatter. Let's see if Seoul comes out and tries to challenge this.
Risky business. Winston switched now for Kuki. It's his 3rd different tank for this particular map, and Dia's going to be happy to try and take headshots.
They got to get this higher.
Transcendence isn't necessarily a problem for Wakid. He's looking for a lower health target, and he gets nothing with it. Oh dear. Damien removes Kuki as well, so that aggressive sort of thrust from Seoul is turned aside, but Shanghai don't have the checkpoint quite yet. Seoul managed just to get there on time and flatters into the backline again. Finding 2, most importantly, finding 2 of the most crucial picks. Mercy and Widow are down. He wants free kill, give up his life for it. Oh no, Geggery's down, and they get off the cart again. I was so disappointed.
Going for that res, man.
I was so disappointed with, in Seoul against Dallas, I think it was.
Yeah.
Last week with that moving off the cart. This one.
Shanghai very close to completing this and taking map number 1. And they're going to have a pretty good win condition. Zunba just switches over to Zarya, so he's building up towards grab. But Damon's going to get a grab, potentially before Jaehong even gets Transcendence. And even Gambler gets his Valkyrie. So they're in a really good spot to close this out.
Kuki was playing Winston to try and get aggressive dive and stop the Dragons from getting their 2nd checkpoint, but that failed, and now he's playing Reinhardt. Dia has infra sight, so a lot of information now being just passed out to the rest of the Dragons about where people are set up. There's a Valkyrie in play here for Gambler. That is already clear to the Dragons. The Dia's gone down. He's lost the Widow Duel again, Matt. And out to Mercy, missing Wakid comes forward, the Riptire. And yeah, the Dragons will have to go again.
Totally fine for the Dragons. They got them to invest Valkyrie in their tire. Now you are going to come back into this next fight. Transcendence, Valkyrie, Self-Destruct, Earth Shatter, and a grab. There's no way you should lose this coming up next. The Dragons should be able to win this next fight. Potentially take map number 1.
The words of the great Noah Winston, this is the shot for the Dragons. Flutter again in the backline. This has been such a problem. He needs to find free field. One more shot would do it. Quick barrier used there by Damien to keep this in the outer alive. And now Flutter's kind of almost out of position. He's not getting much done here. There's a self-destruct being thrown in here by Geggery. No one claimed by that one. The Transcendence by Jaehong to keep Seoul up. Kuki has to step back though.
And the grab is used as well from Damon. He only connects with 1 from range. It was a waste of that ultimate, as it'll be Transcendence here from free field. trying to keep everybody up, but man, they had all those ultimates and they get nothing.
Huge investment from Shanghai, and this was when they had to make it happen, but now there's only 2 tanks for Shanghai over on the payload. Damien will be brushed aside eventually. Does get Jaehong. Jaehong playing very aggressively, characteristically so, and this is it. Now Shanghai had the door with pretty much nothing but the clothes on their back.
Geggery needs to eat this Graviton Surge from Zunba, or
How
else
much
they're
she
not
know
even
it was going to be?
to the card. So man, that is a fight that Shanghai should have won here.
There's no way you're ready for this.
No.
And there it is. Gonna be the Graviton catching Geggery out. She's charged away. Desuited Fearless now at half health. Zumba's gonna drop in. He's very charged up. Earthshatter altering is down. Fearless missing as well. And Seoul will hold on. But you've got to feel, Matt, that Shanghai played themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they get a better use of some of those ultimates. They had a huge advantage in that. The second to last fight, they're not able to get a good use of their Earthshatter, Self-Destruct, or Graviton Surge in both support ults.
An embarrassment of riches, and still can't buy themselves around. It's 1-0 in favor of Seoul Dynasty. We'll be back after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League.
Seoul Dynasty could come up with a big clutch play here at the very end. Boom! Seoul Dynasty ramping up.
This turned into a pretty great hold for Shanghai.
What a move by 5King.
Look at that man!
Munchkin, whoa!
3, 2, 1, let's go! It's gonna be worth it.
Oh, it was so close.
Map 2 coming at you, of course, of the Shanghai Dragons versus the Seoul Dynasty. And the Dragons, you know, who look to be in a position to win King's Row in one fight. 6 ultimates, and they couldn't do it, man.
Yeah, so they open up that fight with a Earthshatter from Fearless, which goes right into the shield of Kuki. They got nothing from that. So then they're also using Valkyrie during this, which isn't a bad idea, right? You use Valkyrie to back up some of the tanks to start to go in, you can get aggressive. So the Shatter doesn't work. Then they try and go around, and Damon shoots a really long-range graph. Hits Jaehong, Jaehong uses Transcendence, they throw in the self-destruct over the top, obviously he doesn't get anything from there. Then you had players start to fall, Free Fuel comes in late with his Transcendence, and that's how you end up using all your ultimates and not getting anything. I mean, you could have comboed them a bit better. I mean, there was a lot of different things they could have done there towards the end. I know obviously it's a lot easier said than done to come up with a lot of different things, but I know the way they played that, they had a decent idea going in, they just didn't execute it.
And that's the problem, right? That can often be the struggle. And we see this a lot of teams, right? They come in with a setup of what they want to do, but sometimes they don't understand like why.
Well, I mean,
they have a team composition, but understanding why they're trying to do that, sometimes it doesn't mesh up.
If you're going to use the self-destruct, right, and you were going to use Earthshatter, like maybe you caught, okay, let's save one for the next fight in case it doesn't work. I mean, you could have launched self-destruct over the top. Kuki would have had to turn the shield, then Earthshattered him then he falls down, maybe you get one, and then when you come around the corner, then you could have used your graph. You would have gotten a better use
so
of it, right?
It's sequencing that you think is
yeah, because people then have to get onto the payload. It's towards the end of the map, right? There's a lot of different ways they could have forced positioning, because at the end, it was really kind of like a Hail Mary graph, and it really didn't need to. I mean, that short area, you could have just got on the cart, forced them down. We do have some subs after we just talked about Game 1 forever, coming in here for Game 2. It'll be Munchkin who comes in for Valletta. So you bring in Munchkin, who can play a Widowmaker as well. You who want Wakiden for his Junkrat. Otto comes in for Damon as well. Junkrat, Genji play here. As both teams want to have, I know, a little bit flexibility. Go over towards that. Yep, that's you, Otto. You're on camera.
Yeah, they're cheering for you, bro.
And I was wondering as well, you know, why maybe, you know, obviously Dia, you know, he can hold his own in the Widowmaker battles, right? But potentially having like Otto and Damon play together as a DPS combo, because you know, both of those players speak Korean, then you have the tank line who speaks Korean, you make it a little bit easier in terms of language barrier.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of reductive in its reasoning, I suppose, to just increase the number of, you know, players speaking a predominant language on the team, but you think that makes a big difference when it comes to what we were just talking about, Matt, when it comes to sequencing, communication, setting up, you know, fight wins with your ultimates. Timing is key, and it was timing that the Dragons didn't have in that last match.
And it is hard to say, because I feel like, you know, agreeing with what Bryn said earlier, I think the issue kind of has been their support play. I feel like the DPS play has been there, you know, with all 3 DPS players, and same with the tank line. I feel like they've been very good as well.
Support's carrying a game right now. Isn't that the truth? And Wakid is going to come in on the Bagitta here. That's what we like to see. So the Dragons obviously probably aren't going to want to dive anyway, but if they ever had an inkling of maybe wanting to do that.
Yeah, Seoul has a really good composition here, though, to just kind of stand on the point.
Oh, right? The Moira in here as well.
Yeah.
Lucio, of course, to help get them there and then give them that residual healing. And Wakid, yep, the slap bets are being paid back.
Yeah, Dia can't really do much here, because now, look, they're on the point. He has to shoot through the little window, and you know, a lot of big tanky targets, a lot of healing going down. And it's hard. Fearless doesn't want to push through his own shield because he's getting get chunked down.
You've got to go at some point, but when? The Dragons are trying to find out, like, when is the right time to get aggressive for you? You see how low Fearless is. Gregory tried to go in to deflect some attention away, but the Dynasty in complete and utter control. The Dragons' DPSs have not been able to find any of those crucial targets, and they are getting run into the ground. Jaehong removes Fearless, and Free Fuel being the last, altering Just Strangler. It's a whip shot from Wakid. Give him the strong hand and let him know who's boss.
They're gonna be able to, look, Dia's just going to die now.
This is bad.
And then they have speed boost with Lucio, right? We haven't seen a ton of Lucio. You're going to be able to get on the point here.
Ultra just got
rally. Oh, this isn't going to be good for the Dragons.
4 players for the Dragons. Now 5 as altering zooms straight onto the point. He had to use his Valkyrie for that extra speed. And Seoul once again set up. They've got Jaehong with a Coalescence. Kuki with that Earth Shatter. And look how aggressive Kuki's playing. He gets out of with a Fire Strike in the corner. Kuki's going to drop in now with that Earth Shatter. You know he's going to be waiting for a chance to do so. Perhaps wait for the Transcendence to time out and get an optimal setup. Dia actually avoids getting knocked down by the Shattering. Just dodges behind the Lantern at the last moment. He can still be a factor. Now he's trying to put Jaehong on ice, but it's a Graviton Surge thrown in the middle. Gregory gets 2 though. She might have found the pressure valve for the Shanghai Dragons, but Zumba fires back and removes her mech. Now Zumba on the point, peeling for that backline. Kuki's low on health, and you can see that Dia's still being quite the nuisance. Kuki's going to get frozen solid on the point, and the rest of the Seoul have to get out. The Dragons, hold on.
Oh, man. That got scary. Yeah, altering India dies so late in that first fight.
Not even one tick given up.
No, which, let's see. Soul Dynasty gonna change things up. Munchkin will play Widow here.
Gegari got 2 with that self-destruct.
Oh,
That's
that was
just
huge.
And the Mei switch, I love. I loved that on that point. You saw what Dia was able to do.
So
he also avoided the Earth Shadow.
They're gonna stay Mei here, try and get that Blizzard. No, we haven't seen a ton of Mei in this stage. We haven't seen a ton of Mei at all, really, in the Overwatch League. But I know playing Mei here could be a little bit interesting. You see the wall to split players off. But if they try and go high ground, right now Mei can freeze multiple targets at once. She may be very good in that choke.
Okay, well, Wakid can circle back around and get in position, but altering just went ham on Gambler. Notice that he wasn't even a Valkyrie, by the way, so he did that without being able to fly around and had that extra sort of mobility. Ardo is back, resurrected there, of course, after the pick. Yes, Munchkin on that Widowmaker here. Wakid switches now to Tracer, realizes that the Dragons aren't toting along a beginner pick here.
Which we haven't seen Wakid play much Tracer at all. Usually, he's playing the projectile heroes. It's usually Munchkin who would be playing the Tracer here, but you want Widow, and we haven't seen Wakid play Widow at all either.
This is the new landscape in the Overwatch League, Matt. You can't. It's not about switching comps between maps and having people sub in. It's about switching on the spot. You might have 3 or 4 different compositions you need to make work for you in the space of 1/2 even.
I mean, you must really believe that Wakid is a better Junkrat than, let's say, Fleta, because that's really the only thing you can kind of make sense for why he's in right now. Is this will be Transcendence used from free field just because Kuki got on him in the back.
Yeah, maybe not overly necessary there. The Dragons had already won the fight, all intents and purposes, moving Jaehong, who now will have a Transcendence long before free field gets his next one.
But you have some ultimates to stall time, though. You have Blizzard, you have Riptire, Primal Rage.
All of them excellent for doing just that.
In a way, obviously they are defense heroes. These ultimates, I guess you'd categorize as defensive as well, although most of the time we see them used in an offensive manner.
I mean, it's, interesting to say that Widowmaker's ultimate isn't necessarily defensive.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it has its applications. It's a bit of a grey area there. So Dia, he has himself that Blizzard, nice. But Ardo takes down Gambler as well. It's traded out though, they lose a Junkrat. Still not having a Mercy for Soul might be a problem. Not after that though, free feels down to a pick. Dia though, man, Kuki must be having a tough time dealing with this Mei.
I mean, as I'm sure a lot of people know, Mei, one of the more frustrating heroes to play against when a Mei is really positioned well and your team's trying to push in and coordinate and group. Like, Mei thrives when you want to group together and like move as a unit. That's when she can be like devastating against the team,
which is
players off.
Which is why we're going to see this change now from Soul, Matt. Tracer and McCree aren't going to play together necessarily at all. Kuki's going to be quite mobile. It's going to be a little bit harder for Dia to sort of deal with this. And the Pharah switch on the attack is super interesting. And in this case, very efficient.
But we usually don't see Pharah on attack at all here. Otto will play Widowmaker, so we'll get a look at Otto's Widow as Zunba gets walled off as he's trying to go up towards the high ground.
This is triple tank meta to a T. We saw that Mei wall to get that first pick to set them up. But look, Kuki and Munchkin have gotten onto the point already. So we see what's happening up here. But elsewhere on the point, they've dived the backline very heavily. Free field's about to drop. And now going to be the Blizzard. So D's doing a good job here of trying to split Soul off from the rest of their teammates, but it may not work out. He needs to get down, throws a wall up in the main, but Wakid is here. Ardo's not in position to deal with this Pharah right now, and for now, Wakid can rule the skies. Gegari has to commit to removing him, and she does so effectively, in all fairness. The Pharah's down, Wakid's back, but again, into a Widowmaker play, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, but it's going to be Otto who takes out Kuki, so you don't have that main tank. You already used the res on the Wakid, so now you're going to have to back up. It's a big pick there from Otto, switching over to Widow. And it's actually, we caught a glimpse of it, but Dia, the really nice use of his Blizzard, he actually freezes Zunba so they can't get eaten up with the defense matrix, then uses the Blizzard up on the high ground. Really heads up play there from Dia.
Soul want to try and tank this high ground position. They don't really have any heroes that benefit from having a sniper's nest, per se. And then you can see Otto, he is looking for no one but Wakid. He's found in the infra site, assisting him in that regard. Munchkin also down. Both DPS is missing for Soul, and they're going to lack a lot of the bite to match their bark.
This would be a very impressive hold from Shanghai as Wakid will switch again to Brigitte. The amount of switching that Seoul Dynasty has had to do, you can tell they're really frustrated with the composition that Shanghai has thrown at them. As Zunba will get demeched, he'll jump off the side. get a new mech, spawn back with the rest of his team. But,
Yeah, well, it
but
compromises their ability to really have those ultimates on a regular basis.
And I mean, we've gone from about 6 minutes on the clock, a little bit over 6 minutes, and now we're at 60 seconds from it. So,
Oh,
Shanghai,
you're playing. Oh, man. High
playing
ground.
continuous Junkrat as
Yeah,
well.
high ground Pagita.
This is
Without
right,
a Ryan.
and without Zarya as well to make Otto pay for it, as the damage boost coming in from altering.
Ardo's not paying for anything. In fact, he's going all the way to the bank with this one. Staying safe here, just making sure he controls that walkway.
You may need to use like Transcendence or Valkyrie just to get in.
See, well, Kuki used that barrier just to make sure that Ardo couldn't just bombard everyone on the stairwell, and still it's not going to be enough. Akeem has to shield bash away, and Kuki's so low, he's going to have to go out and get some help. Now Shanghai get to move the battle line up a little bit more and completely hold Seoul outside. Now, Seoul, do they go main here, Matt? Do they try and get Kuki on the high ground, split him off from the rest of the team?
You have to split up, as Dia trying to spawn camp Munchkin here.
Munchkin's in trouble, he's down! Dia gets himself into the backline, and now Seoul are lacking the pieces they need to make this puzzle work out. Kuki gets smashed on the point, which he's trying to move up with Zuma, but it's just a support and a tank. Gegari's going to hold her ground. Joaquin knocks Skyward and J-Hong now again. Transcendence not quite in the thick of the fight, which we've seen quite frequently from Seoul. He just gets blown the heck up as soon as he pops out to the skies. Does go Kuki. He's got Primal Rage, but it's definitely more of a last-ditch attempt now. Fearless much the same. Two very angry monkeys, and this is their jungle gym. Freefield drops in with the Transcendence here. Impossible for Kuki to find any kills amongst that. He'll stay on the high ground and drop in and try and keep this one going, but he's not long for it at all. He's on the low ground, and that's it. Seoul really put the foot down there, or in their mouth, should I say.
How many times, remember we casted a match with Seoul Dynasty? It may have been against Shanghai. A few stages back, or maybe against the Shock, but they needed to win. It was against the Shock. They needed to win every game in the series. And we come into Temple of Anubis, and they take Flood out. You end up losing.
Yeah, it was.
I believe that series goes. It goes 5 games. That series. It's like,
and the Shock.
I believe it was the
Shock
Shock.
lost 2-3. They
Yeah.
lost that one, but that was like the final week of stage 2. I think
It kept Seoul like out of the playoffs because they needed to win every single game. It's like, with how close it is for the overall season playoffs, like you need to win every single game here. So, look, if Shanghai ends up taking this map, you go into halftime and you have this talk where it's like, we should be up 2-0 realistically. I mean, they have a huge ultimate advantage towards the end of King's Row. Should have been there. So let's see how they do on the offensive side, though, of Hanamura. Still a lot of this map to play. Shanghai, they love to play dive here. When the switch of auto comes into the game for Damon, you fully expect his Genji to come out. Now, you see Seoul Dynasty coming out with the Orisa Junkrat Widowmaker setup.
So what we're most interested here in examining from Shanghai is not how they get the first pick, because with the team as talented as they are, these things will come. It's how they switch gears after they find that first pick and capitalize on the fact that they have more players, they have a man advantage, especially if they're picking a Widowmaker or, God forbid, a Junkrat, then they're going to have far more damage. It's how they use that to transition into a winning position on the point.
I feel like some of the things we've seen from Shanghai earlier in this stage were some just bad compositional switches, where it didn't seem like they really had a great understanding of the meta.
They knew what to play, but not why.
Right. And then they didn't know where to play in those certain positions. We've seen really good adjustments from them so far this series. So I'm interested to see if the dive doesn't work, what do they go with, and how fast do they go away from this?
So it is full dive man, as you alluded to earlier on, and Ultramarine does take a glancing hit from Munchkin early. Munchkin's already at 50% ult charge.
Really early recall there from Mia.
Just been pounded, so.
Right,
Munchkin is way ahead though, damage-wise.
Yeah.
Why does he recall that? Because he's worried about getting stuck.
He was actually going past Zumba, and for some reason decided to use the recall, and then doesn't have recall there when he jumps on through. That's
not gonna work.
So with their comp, they don't exactly need to go challenge this high ground, right? I mean, they can go on the point, force Seoul to wrap around to the point, and then use their flankers to get up on the high ground, right? You can have the Genji get up on the hut, put down a ton of damage, right? Nobody can get up there, challenge him.
You want to catch Seoul mid-rotation with this composition. Right. You know, while they're all sort of moving to the point. Now the question is, how can you generate enough threat on the point to force Seoul to move?
I mean, look at it from the top-down map perspective. Imagine this is Horizon Lunar Colony and they're sitting up top on the high ground. It's the same type of idea. Like, you can't just keep diving up there head first. Like,
you could wrap around the left-hand side from this perspective to get on the point. You don't need to challenge that. However, they will do that yet again. See, Gegari gets caught up there in a Junkrat trap. she will be desuited. However, the rest of the Shanghai Dragons are looking in fairly good health and in spirits. Munchkin has to rotate up on Freefill. No one was there to usher him through the door. Again, we often see Zenyatta's having to wait until their team makes some progress to get in, but now Ado needs to do something big. He's found two, gets himself the Mega as well, which is huge, and he's walked into a trap. Ado, your shoes are untied, and there's a trap on the ground. So now Fearless just throws the bubble down. He'll have to drop off the edge. Ultrawing just gets smashed, and it's a token attempt from Fearless to control Munchkin, but he's not dying here.
Yeah, I believe it was Altering who was going for the res onto Otto there. You can't just stop in the middle of the fight, go for that res. Did it in the last map, trying to get Dia in the middle of the street King's Row, but just because you're running dive doesn't mean you need to just go at them. You can play this a little bit of a different way.
I guess there's so much spam on Seoul's composition that Shanghai worried to get into position or to flank or get onto the point to
You have
force Seoul
defense
down.
matrix, just walk through the front, defense matrix, and then go all the way to the right side.
Or they can just run directly at Seoul. How about that, man? Because that's what they're going to do. Geggery down to half before she can even sort of get up to that platform, so she had to be very careful. Key's Riptide now. Oh, man. There's a lot of people here in free field. Is no more. Altering definitely caught out there. Nice use of Halt by Kuki to catch them. Shanghai. Not off the starter's plate yet. Still need to get something done. Munchkin won't be picked once again. He's just pretty confident in his positioning here, knowing he's going to be backed up by Healy.
And they're going to stay on this comp for Shanghai. The last fight they may have actually been able to make something out of, but they killed Jaehong. Gambler's not able to res him. If Altering actually just kind of keeps pocketing Fearless and letting him go at Munchkin, and then he has Primal Rage, maybe then you're able to stay alive through that.
Okay, maybe they're doing that now.
Okay, so now Dia's gone by.
Okay, where does everyone else go? Now there's a trap right underneath Soul's feet on the setup on the high ground, right? That's what they're always going to have there, where Key just puts one in front of him in case someone dives. Munchkin a little bit unsure about how to get into this fight in a safe manner. All of Shanghai now are doing kind of what you hope, Matt. It's less of a direct approach, but look at Zumba. He's trying to control, Freefeel and Dia at the front side. He doesn't find them, but he can just resuit, so we can go back to harassing Freefeel, who's on his own there. Keep an eye on him. He needs to have an impact here, but he also needs to do it safely. That's so hard for him in his position. Now we've got some players on the point, though. Dia's there. Freefeel actually made it across no man's land to get there, but Ado gets caught out. Jaehong and Zumba collapse upon him. Zumba's not really sure where to be right now. Both teams are confused, I can see that, but Dia's taken down. Pulse Bomb, it's traded out. Altering's missing though, and who's on the point? Freefeel is there, but now he's no more. Again, taken down by the Riptide. Matt, you're freaking out.
Yeah, Freefeel ends up using the Transcendence. It's just him and Dia standing on the point. No damage coming down towards either of them.
Time's up!
Shanghai doesn't make any adjustments to this comp pitch. Seoul Dynasty rolls through them on D.
I feel like that last time around on the attack, Shanghai at least tried to work their way around Seoul's setup, work around that Orisa, but again, they got so scattered, and we watched a bunch of different players, weren't quite sure what was going on, but you know who does know? It'll be the desk, and we're going to join them at halftime in just a moment with the breakdown.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, come experience Overwatch League live at Blizzard Arena. For tickets, check out access.com.
The Dragons had their chances, but the Dynasty have taken care of business so far. After getting the win on Kings Row, they full hold on Hanamura and take the lead going into the half 2-0. Welcome back to the desk, everyone. Golden Boy here alongside with Brennan Sideshow as we break this one down. And, you know, you hate to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
That's honestly the best way I could throw that one.
It's been a painful game so far because it looked winnable on both maps for the Shanghai Dragons. You know, I was coming into this thinking maybe they can go even at the half. You know, they are a decent Kings Row team. But they threw Kings Row away, you know, they had it. Like Matt was saying when he was casting, they had everything they needed to be able to take that final fight, and they fluffed it. And then they were going to Hanamura, and they actually looked decent on the defense, but again, their offense, they just can't do it.
Yeah, we'll dive deeper into that crazy play for Kings Row in just a little bit, but let's jump over to the highlights here for games 1 and 2. Kings Row up first here, and again, this was the map that we all felt Shanghai could have won. They were so close. Bren, you're crumpling your paper. You need that because it has stats and stuff.
It has stuff on it. Yeah, I know, but I'm just so frustrated, Golden Boy. This was so winnable for the Shanghai Dragons. And it was very simple things that they could have improved upon. I mean, it was just there. It was there. The finish line was there.
The thing I'm most bothered about that you were talking about while we were off air, Brent, is that they refused to play Gigori on Zarya, and instead they're pushing Damon into that role, which means they can't run the Hanzo and the Zarya at the same time. You know, they were using the double sniper composition when they're on defense, and it worked great. They're able to stop them at the second point. Yeah. But then on their offense, I mean, that Bastion play was really nice as well. But then here, they've got Damon on the Zarya, and then they've got Deer on Widowmaker, necessary to counter Fleta. But that means you don't have a Hanzo in the mix. You don't have these classic Graviton Dragon Strike combos.
Thing you can counter, well, the only thing you can combo the Graviton Surges with are essentially it's Fearless, isn't it? With his Reinhardt hammer.
Sure, or possibly like a Diva Bomb. But that's so
that's what it's so hard to even do in the first place. Yeah. We all know, like, essentially main tanks are getting shut down so easily these days. Like, that was my main issue.
And another thing too is that this team struggles with aggression. Yeah. When they have the numbers, when they have that upper hand and the team running between their tails, between their legs, they do not push their advantages. It's so frustrating.
Yes, they're not particularly decisive, and they don't really make use of other teams backing off and trying to eat up all the space that they're given. They are a little too passive in these certain situations, and I honestly thought that Seoul were just going to roll it straight through here. But with a swap over to Dia on the Mei, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, they were actually able to stabilize, and unfortunately it was this Orisa Junkrat Widowmaker defense that we've seen so often that Shanghai really struggled with. Can't coordinate the dive that well. They're not the most coordinated team in the world, and they didn't take a page from Dallas Fuel's book where they just rush up the gut with the Reinhardt and the Diva and leave your Zen and Widow at the back. So they only tried one thing, and it didn't work for them. It was very one-dimensional on Hanamura.
Yeah, so close, yet so far away. And that will lead us into this next bit, because this is the Shanghai Dragons with everything in their hands. All the advantages that you can ask for. This was a winnable situation, and it just didn't happen, Sideshow.
Yeah, and the casters were mentioning it at the time, so I've got a replay to go back through it with you, if you'll allow me to remind you of this painful situation if you're a Shanghai Dragons fan.
It hurts so much.
Yeah, there's 1 minute and 8 seconds on the clock, and they really don't have to get it that much further. Look, their win condition is right there. They only have to get it, what, another 9 meters? 900 meters. And they've got all the ults in the world.
Actually, 6, because they had just used...
Yeah, boom, 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 boom. They've just had the infrasight, and it's up now. They have just a wealth of ultimates to use. And so their game plan here, ideally, should be to try and apply pressure onto... Well, first of all, the first thing to note, actually, is that probably Geguri should probably be on the Zarya, and they should have Damon instead on the Hanzo, because then you get that beautiful Graviton Dragon Strike combo. But with the composition that they have right now, their game plan is to try and push Kuki further away and do damage to his shield, back him up and clump the team together. Then they want to be trying to make use of this Graviton, and then they want to try and follow it up with Fearless's Earth Shadow so that they get that kind of combo. That's the way that you normally see teams using it. And you notice that they've really got a time limit to work with. I just completely completely obscured that. But they've got a time limit to work with because Jaehong's at 83% of his Transcendence. So you see here, Fearless pushing forward and unfortunately doesn't quite get onto them. Not close enough to get onto Jaehong at the back there. Oops, hello. He manages to survive with, he manages to survive there and doesn't get hit by it. A little unfortunate. Cookie's got his up and Zumba with the bubble as well. And so once they haven't got value out of that, I mean, for starters, I think that's a bit too aggressive from Fearless and just kind of throwing it in there. But now Cookie's just had his shield removed and Damien throws it in. And look at this, the only person that he's able to catch is Jaehong. And they've got this play set up where it's Gregory coming in with the bigger bang combo. They just don't catch people because they're starting with the Earth Shatter and they're kind of throwing this ult just around the corner. And at that point, Fleta just nails them with a couple of headshots and it's all over because they've had to go around the corner into Fleta's sightline. It's just, it's so frustrating to watch because they have everything they need to do. They just muck up these timings. And these are the things when you're playing King's Row, you have to be able to deliver on. It's about these big ultimate combos. And for starters, they cripple themselves with the composition, right? Because they're not running a Hanzo. That's the biggest thing. But then the execution of it is so poor and it's just really frustrating because they make all the rest of the map, they make the right path to get there is fine, but they can't get it.
They had, regardless of whether or not they were running the Hanzo, they still had the right idea or the right advantage in that.
They still could have won it.
Not the right idea, definitely not the right idea. But they had the advantage, and that's the heartbreak to see. But let's move on though. You can't. You know,
can't harp on about it forever.
Exactly, right? You can't cry about spoiled milk. So let's look forward here because then we got some different looks as well from the Dragons moving on.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, Dia moved over to the Mei, made a last-minute swap, I should say. Swippity swoop. He ended up moving over to the Mei, and it worked out pretty nicely. They ended up using the Mei walls to, you know, essentially block off the members of Seoul Dynasty and try and get a single pick off of that. Dia was playing it very well, just sort of really utilizing the stuns that he was available by freezing the enemies to death to try and collect up these kills and setting up Shanghai Dragons for the win. And this was promising, you know, because it showed that they were willing to make certain adaptations, you know. Seoul maybe not as prepared for it. Wiki later switched over to the Fire to try and sort of counteract.
But even then, they're just running in through the top right all the time as well.
So yeah, Seoul are making mistakes here, and this is what really we want to highlight, is the fact that Seoul are making these mistakes. Dia had 1 death to his name. He had 7 enemies frozen.
Not punished at all.
Not punished at all for it. When Seoul, and this is the point that I want to try and get at here, is that these maps were winnable entirely for Shanghai Dragons. Both of these maps, full holding a team on the point B, they had like 6.5 minutes left, you know. Seoul had plenty of time to push it in. These maps were entirely within their hands, and unfortunately they just let it slip.
Yeah, we could realistically have been in a situation where the Shanghai Dragons were up 2-0.
Then you have to attack.
Yeah, then at that point we'd all have to be very fearful because I think the arena would have just gone absolutely insane. But that is not the case. We are currently in a spot where the Shanghai Dragons are down 0-2. The question is, can they come back? It's going to be a tall order to ask for the Dragons, but we have Lijiang Tower and Dorado coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Overwatch.
You've heard the shoutcasters, but now it's time to let your voice be heard. T-Mobile is giving fans the power to help select the first Overwatch League MVP on Twitter by using hashtag OWLMVP in your player's battle tag.
Welcome back, boys and girls. The Seoul Dynasty currently holds a 2-0 lead over the Shanghai Dragons. And man, what more can I really say about what we just saw? The Dragons, you know, I'm a competitor, all right? It kind of hurts me. It cuts me deep as a competitor to see a team have it in the palm of their hand, and then just kind of let it slip. The Dragons, they had those first 2 maps well in their grasp. And I don't know what it is. We could talk about technical skill or, you know, the culture of the team, the rosters, all that stuff. But honestly, I think at the end of the day, it really just comes down to nerves. There's a lot of pressure for these guys to win their first game of the season. And as we draw closer to the end of our regular season, it just looks like that prospect is fading away. So anyways, guys, this match isn't over. We still have a whole nother half for them to pull off a reverse sweep against the Dynasty. So let's see if they can get that first win and send it on over to Uber, Mr. X.
Do you think he's tilted?
The reverse sweep. I believe.
I think he's a little bit unhappy. I don't blame him as well. I think a lot of people with high expectations for a team like Shanghai who've been going from strength to strength, granted, none of those strengths have involved them winning a series yet, would be upset with sort of how those last couple of maps played out. Towards the end there, we saw them get into a commanding position on Hanamura map. And then, playing the dive composition into Rissa Junkrat, not getting any progress done.
I feel like I cast or cursed them when I was like, oh yeah, they're making the proper adjustments today. And then they played dive and just kept jumping at them over and over again. That was not ideal there on Hanamura. But the first 2 maps were very winnable for the Dragons. I think if you're a Dragons fan, you can take that away. Maybe in the second half here, they're able to put together a good second half, end up taking this from the distance. We've seen them take teams through game 5s in the past. It's just whether they can mount this big comeback over the next 2 maps.
And historically, this is a team that always takes at least a map off of the Seoul Dynasty, right? And if they, they want to be hoping they can at least do that today.
We can't celebrate map wins anymore. Stage 4, it's week 3.
I mean, when
you
get
happy about
when you're minus 100 in map differential, do you celebrate map wins?
You can't. You need a win. You need a win. You need to finish the season out.
We have high hopes. We have high hopes coming forward. Fleta has returned.
Well, I just feel like their team is better than holding them like to, well, if they got a map win, that's great. Like, I feel like they have a better team than that.
So what do we hold them to? 2 map wins? 3?
They need to get a win. A win. I feel like they're too talented. Look, you see how close they play them on Kings Row? They get a better use of ultimates. That's a 1-1 series coming into the half. And we've seen them, they have beaten Seoul Dynasty on Dorado in the Overwatch League already. They get a map at the end where they've already beaten them. Control is a toss-up of a game. Like some of these games for the Dragons are winnable.
So like if you're tuning in now, maybe you haven't watched Overwatch League since the start, you're probably wondering why our expectations are so high for Shanghai. But because we've seen the caliber of play for most of their play time has been very good. You saw it on Kings Row. It just fell apart towards the end. Now they need to keep it together here on Night Market and get themselves back into the series. And we're going to be out of the gates here. Seoul Dynasty going to be playing Nefara, Reinhardt. We're going to be mixing the Zaya in there as well. And Fleta's already opened up the account.
Yeah, you don't have a shield here to deal with the damage that Fleta will put down. And then Wakid up in the sky playing Pharah. But no, this is just kind of basic scouting, Mitch. We've seen Seoul Dynasty play this comp against other teams in the past. You got to be prepared for this.
This comp punishes Shanghai pretty bad.
Oh, it does. I mean, a lot of difficult things for Gegri to deal with, playing Diva. She's going to have a tough time getting close to Zunba, and then also just a lot of damage coming down from Wakid. The point will not go to Seoul right away, but
Dia walked through Fleta's poison mine and he had 1 HP. He was just healed up and kept alive by that one. But see, Fleta, you can play Widowmaker on this map. You can play very close. This guy's still getting away with murder, literally, of course. This Fearless fell to him, and that's Gegri down. And look, he dropped the poison mine as well. He gets that on towards Ardo. Assists with that kill.
And they're not worried about the Dragons going into the back line to try and take Fleta out, because Wakid is just sitting above him, just shooting rockets down. Then you can have Kuki just swing the hammer. We're able to take players out that way. So Fleta, see if he changes. So no, goes back to Widow. Interesting. So no, okay, so maybe they thought that. Okay, so they probably saw Wakid saw the Pharah. You see Wakid shooting rockets into the Shanghai spawn. He was going to play for Kita because they thought they were going to keep on the Genji, but as soon as he sees the Pharah Mercy come out, that's when he goes back to Widow. So that's why you saw that little exchange happen.
But I'm not really too upset about this. He'd much rather play a Widowmaker with no ult percentage left than a Brigitte into an enemy Pharah. Wakid now can just sort of peek through these windows and actually get a fair bit done. Daciati wants to drop in on top of him. One more, get it. there it is. Much ado about nothing, apparently. But Key drops in to finish that one off. Now the Transcendence here for Seoul, just to make this much more of a robust exercise. However, Zumba and Kuki are down. They're missing their tank line. Wakid not really in a great position to get damage or to flip this fight on its head. Good rocket pressure on towards Fearless. Needs another one to get the job done. And now it's going to be right up in front. A barrage that gets very little done either.
It'll be Freefield using Transcendence here as well as he heals up the tanks, then backs up. So we'll see if Shanghai is able to hold on to this. Gegri uses self-destruct. She gets taken out though. It's just Fearless on the point here. May have a window of opportunity to attack.
Jaehong finally finds Ado there. No healing available to him as Altering was not in position to assist. Finally went down to Wakid. Fearless just gets run over by Zumba there, straight into his face. And Seoul now retake control of the point here. After losing their tanks first in the previous fight, Seoul kind of, even with what remained of their backline, managed to swing things in their favor.
So Otto now goes back to Genji. So let's see if Shanghai can get the point out of this. You'll see Fleta go back and make that switch to Brigitte.
I mean, you really want the Brigitte to prevent Dragon Blades being effective. So Fleta's not really under the pump to switch to Brigitte immediately. Now having Infrasight, he knows that there's a Genji. He's quite happy here.
I mean, they win one fight, Seoul Dynasty. You're going to have, you know, maybe one supporter left over. I mean, Freefield's dead at the beginning of this one, so you probably don't need to use anything. I mean, this is going to be, you're not even going to have a chance to switch because the map may end.
Oh, Ardo's in deep trouble here. Okay, despite that, Gegri and Fearless again putting in the hard yards and removing Zumba. So it's a man advantage here.
They have to touch.
Got 5%. They should be able to get onto the point. Yeah, Gegri just flies on in here, trying to stay safe. Wakid's trying to... He's not looking for tanks. He's looking for those that follow the tanks. Gegri is off in the Pied Piper for the rest of her team. Wakid's not really sure where to go with this one now. Transcendence on the point. Seoul want to maintain control. And force the Dragons off and win the round here. So we'll see. There is Ado direct hit in midair. Fearless tries to drop to the ground. Now, Freefield does have the Transcendence, but they still lost Gegri's mech in the process. Ado's been brought back to life, but the Transcendence is done now, so there's no extra protection for him. Self-destruct on the point. Wakid gets 4 outside. The entirety of the Dragons had to vacate the point straight into the crosshairs of the Farah. And that's going to be a done deal. Wakid adds 5 in that final fight. And Shanghai are a little more than a smoldering mess.
16 limbs, 10 final blows for Wakid, 0 deaths, 30% of the team damage.
He's very pleased with himself.
Oh, yeah.
So how does this go? He just drops straight in behind, gives him no chance to respond. Oh, it's just perfect for him. 4 kills.
So let's see what Shanghai decides to play here. As we move into the next stage. It's a must-win map for Shanghai Dragons. They want to keep their chances of winning the series alive.
They just want to stay in this thing.
Yeah, let's see. You know, they played Lucio at the beginning of that point. It gave them actually one less Valkyrie towards the end there. Let's see. They just use speed boost. Yep, they'll switch. Both teams will switch off.
It's becoming the norm now, much as your flex support having Zaya initially just above your
Otto needs to do work here. Oh, and now with Dia dead.
Wakid was just pot-shotting that.
Yep, the res is going to come in, but look at the space that Seoul Dynasty has taken up. I mean, what can Otto even do here with his Farah? He's like on the outside of the building now.
Now, still a huge ultimate percentage lead here for Seoul. So if the Shanghai Dragons can sort of get an Earth Shatter or get a Graviton first, they can retake this one, but it's not looking great. Tough to get picks up against Seoul's lineup here unless it's sort of Fleta. Shanghai are playing a flanking or diving setup here, so trying to get those individual picks is difficult, but Dia did find Wakid. That's the start.
This won't be resable either.
No, he's sort of out of position or playing too far to the right. Zumba is well charged.
Yeah, Kuki has to get back to the rest of the team. He's extremely weak. This will be altering using Valkyrie, trying to keep everybody up. And as soon as Seoul Dynasty just gives it the point, they know that that healing's coming through with Valkyrie, that they're not going to have a chance to take the point back now. You're going to have your own Valkyrie here in a Riptire coming into the next fight. Now you can use this. You're trading it. You're going to get to about even here for Shanghai, but then Seoul Dynasty may be able to take the point off of this.
The most important resource for Seoul right now is Zumba's charge, actually. Great play by Kuki to move forward previously to protect the Zaya, which was low, and now the Deadeye comes in. Fearless was airborne, and Fleta connects with him. 1 shot, 1 kill, of course. Wakid is wrapping around the backhand side. There it is, and Altering just gets blown to smithereens, and yes, Freefield will be right behind. Well, bit of a lineup at the Pearly Gates today, Matt. I'm not going to lie, as Shanghai get removed very quickly.
So Shanghai used one of their big ultimates during that fight. They used their Graviton Surge. When you use your grab, you pretty much need to win the fight. I mean, it's such a powerful ultimate ability that even if you only connect with 2 players, right, it just should be a guaranteed 2 kills or a force out of support ultimate.
Because there's a high likelihood that your opponent will then have the next grab before you if they're running Zarya also. And if you don't have control then, you're not going to be able to retake it in that instant. So from up on high, it's Wiki going to drop a Riptire in. Fearless backing away, respecting it, but there's nowhere to go. The Graviton Surge, just for 1. So that's a huge investment of ultimates for just 1 player, in all fairness, but Seoul can still maintain control. And if you're playing Zarya here, Zunba, he's in a better position to accrue ultimate charge than Geguri is, just because he can use his barriers, you know, give Kuki the shield for fire strikes and get a lot of damage from behind the right-hand shield.
And Seoul Dynasty moves up here, wanting to make it a little bit costly for Shanghai to maybe even enter onto the point. This Flooded does have a Deadeye, his own players off.
Credit to Kuki as well, he backs off as soon as he sees Zunbo, you know, burying himself, making sure that they can get some charge. They're going to need it very quickly now, because the Dragons are wasting no time in approaching the point. Fearless was barriered up, and that's Dia finding Wakid once again. Opening the fight up with the first pick, but he is felled by Flooded's Deadeye, and Wakid's been brought back to the fight. That one was resible. Kuki now not really sure where to go. His shield is down. He gets barriered up though, and no one was affected by that shatter. We didn't see it from a different view. Suffice to say, Fearless didn't get what he was looking for.
And the Transcendence comes in from free feel, and everybody's dead here. It's just going to keep Fearless alive here on the point. Fearless will fall, as that should be it. As you probably got to get a little bit faster use of that Transcendence. Say you have some players, you know, getting chunked down. You need to be a little bit ahead of the game there. As they use that Transcendence a bit too late, they don't really get much out of it.
Seoul Dynasty, they're coming forward, and they've won a series they absolutely had to win. Good coordination here. A little bit shaky early on, but the Dragons, that's another big Earth Shadow that did not connect. Fearless can't be feeling good about that one. One more map around here for Seoul to see if they can make it a clean sweep. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
Wow! First, they're sour. Then, they're sweet.
Oh, thanks, guys.
New Sour Patch Kids Fire and Freeze. Sour, sweet, gone.
have to be able to be part of a team.
You need to be at the right place at the right time.
They know exactly what they want to do every fight.
People talk about history. I want to be in that discussion.
Stage 4 of the Overwatch League, ladies and gentlemen. We're hurtling at breakneck speed towards our season finals, but the Shanghai Dragons will not be there. And perhaps the Seoul Dynasty also will miss out. This is one of those kind of matches they need to win there. Now, Seoul looked pretty comfortable on Lijiang Tower, especially that last round there, Matt.
Yeah, they looked real good. Now we'll see if they can put away with a 4-0 sweep as we go into Dorado. No subs for either team. And these are big matches for Seoul Dynasty just in terms of map differential, right?
They're trying to claw their way back up the Pacific Division.
Yeah, and I mean, you have another match this week against the Florida Mayhem. I believe the Houston Outlaws play Shanghai in the Florida Mayhem as well this week. So it's important now for Houston to kind of keep pace with Seoul Dynasty.
And again, those two, will be fighting out. They're not in the same division again, but still, if you want to try and, make it into the playoffs itself, you do need to sort of perform fairly well, because there's divisional standings, and then there's also there's teams that get in outside of those as well.
Which both teams are now sitting on the outside. Yeah, they're on the outside looking in. There are divisions. The top from each division will get the first and second seed. Then we'll fill with the rest of the league.
And then we disregard the divisions. So
that's a better way to explain it.
Yes, divisions only matter if you're looking for the buy into the semifinals. Yeah. There you go. Overall rankings are still very important. Thanks for salvaging that one, Matt.
No problem, anytime. But these are two teams that are on the outside looking in terms of overall playoffs right now. The Gladiators hold that final spot as of today, but you have a lot of teams in a lot of trouble. I mean, right, Boston has some tough games coming up. See, some tough games for Seoul Dynasty in the Houston Outlaws. This week's going to be a big week in determining the overall playoffs. I mean, even with Philly's loss to New York, right, losing in the fashion that they did.
Let's not even talk about their performance last week either.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Look, I think it may come down to the final week, and it may even come down to maps. I mean,
Dallas Fuel, stage playoffs?
There's a real, stage playoffs. I mean, as Dallas Fuel or the Shock could easily find themselves into the stage playoffs. I'm saying for the overall year, I mean, you could have a situation where Seoul and Houston both finish 21-19, and then maybe get another team to finish around there as well. And
this is a Pharaoh switch. I feel it in my giblets.
No. Why would you switch far into the Widow? Well, maybe they do. Okay.
Who's the Oracle now, fam? Well, again, you've got a Widow to try and pressure in that Widow battle. You want to really crush the presence.
How many teams switch? I mean, there's a lot of good cover for Farah to go over the...
You could just, work around the edges. But look at this flank. Oh, D is dead now, so guess what? It's Wakeed's world. Shanghai Dragons is living in it.
How many teams see a Widowmaker on the other side and instantly go, okay, let's play far into this? And,
well, a team that has faith in their own Widow to win the duel. I'll leave it at that. Fearless now is going to get accosted, and he'll be...
He's trying to run away.
I don't know where he's running. He's kind of running towards Soulspawn, but I guess whatever direction is opposite to the one that Winston is in.
He's like, save me, guys. I'll play for you.
Need a sixth player, as Sideshow would put it.
Just gives you a good idea of an understanding of the game that Sideshow is playing.
To be fair, though, if you guys are wondering about some of the terminology we're using, Sideshow has a great sort of series of articles on the OverwatchLeague.com. It explains a lot of the terminology we use, like sort of stagger and peel and ultimate economy.
Does he explain that there's 6 players already?
Yeah, I think that's where you get the real juicy Sideshow insight. So give that a look.
So we say there's 6 players because there are 6 players in the game on each team.
Kind of, he's the fiddler on the roof right now. He's not doing much else than fiddling with the settings on his weapons and waiting for a chance to jump in.
Dia's getting jumped on by Kuski in the back.
Oh, he knows he's discorded. Adam knows he's discorded. He actually dies to, full automatic fire from the Widow's Kiss there.
But that kill on a Flint is even, if he's able to get that kill, what happens? He's going to die anyway, and he's going to get rezzed up.
Altering's 1. And you see that, credit to J-Hong for making sure that he kept Ardo in his line of sight to keep that Discord orb on him long enough to make it an easy pick-off. Those things you don't think about, right? Otherwise, that will expire, the Discord orb, if you can't see him for 3 seconds, I think. So this is now getting a bit out of hand for the Shanghai Dragons. They're really just getting pushed away. The payload's about to hit second checkpoint, and this is about as fast as you possibly can go through Dorado.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the combat Soul is running forces Dia to stay on Widowmaker, but he's not able to get anything done on it.
He's had no final blows. Otto has had 2 final blows, but that's it. That's all that Shanghai have in general.
But it has been Otto having the flank and trying to take Fleta out, and then he takes him out, or he gets him weak, and then there's both supports there. There's some help from Zunba. Like, I can't do it all alone. Is Wakid.
I mean, Wakid's no scrub. He knows how to deal with the Widowmaker, and now Dia's hanging out of his best friend's car, trying to holler at him. He gets taken down. And we 1-for-1. Gregory chases on. Dia resurrected. I got it in there.
Yep.
You mad?
Kooky drops. This one's truly gotten out of hand.
Wakid's brought back to life now as well, so Dia also being resurrected means that's an issue that Wakid has to be aware of late in the fight.
All right.
Shanghai turns around. They can hold on here.
It's a good fight win.
You switch this Pharah here now, Matt?
Yeah, I question even playing the Pharah in the first place going up against a Widowmaker, but, you know, I guess we'll see Brigitte come out. So this really tells you they're going to play around Fleta, that they feel really good about him in the Widowmaker battle, which they should, going up against Dia. Now that you feel like you can negate the dive that comes in from whether it's Fearless, Gregory, or Otto, you can make it a truly Widow-on-Widow game that Fleta's going to win this.
Fleta now playing the off angle. Tough, actually, ready for Dia to sort of spot him here. Dia's sitting right back. He was actually waiting for Fleta to peek leftward. That's something.
Yeah, I mean, Fearless uses Primal Rage because he thinks that Soul's going to push up for the high ground, which they are, but he uses Primal Rage that doesn't get any type of push from the rest of the team, so he's forced to back out, and then they just give up the high ground anyway.
Otto does not want any of it.
You know, I think that's if you were to like to pinpoint one thing like from Shanghai's playstyle, and you're just kind of like, oh, like why don't they result in wins as you see Fearless fall? Is that it's the right play from Fearless? They're coming towards the high ground. Let's use Primal Rage and push them back and push in. The issue is he's doing it alone. There's nobody else going in there. We've seen that time and time again from Shanghai. It's just a lack of aggression. They get one kill, they don't go in, and they finish off the rest of the players. They let them just kind of linger and build ultimates and stay in these fights for a bit too long.
You see Otto managed to wrap around the back there, got a pulse bomb, and I'd be kind of stuck in the Zunba, who just went to the dealership and traded up his car for a new one. Now, the beginner play is interesting here for Wakid.
But when they get 2 kills there, right? Shanghai, they were able to get 2 kills. Yep. Like, why not push forward and start staggering players, getting players weak?
They haven't read Sideshow's article on OverwatchLeague.com, fam.
That's like the one thing that's missing from their game, because now they play so passive. And it gives you the opportunity to do that.
Oh, and Otto tried to jump in on him, and Wakid was right there with the shield bash. To dash the hopes, of course, of Shanghai. We really hope to get a pick out of this fight, and now they are getting absolutely pounded.
Yeah.
It's involuntary acupuncture. They're not asking for this, they're getting it anyway. And now we're on to the last stretch. Shanghai Dragons move in here with Gregory. They do have the Transcendence in play here. See if Freefield can get in a good spot to use it. They're trying to dive, though, get aggressive, use Fearless's Primal Rage to get 4, but now the rally, you can see Fleta's ticking up, and that armor is getting quite durable now, which is a pain for Shanghai. They don't have a great amount of burst damage outside of Dia, who's been largely ineffective so far in this map. Fleta trying to play whack-a-mole with him, but that didn't work out, and Jaehong's down to a pulse bomb, but he's brought back for the fight.
Yeah, that was a really nice pulse bomb from Otto. He's able to land it onto Jaehong, and Gambler has to raise him up. And during that, you're not able to put the heals onto Kuki, so you lose your main tank. It's a big play there by Otto. But see, look, this is exactly what I'm talking about. They take out the main tank, and they know they're around the corner, and they just back up.
Yeah.
You have Valkyrie. You have Valkyrie push in and around the corner, put the pressure on Soul.
And look at that, look at all the space they give to Fleta, because they're unsure. Fleta now gets to the end of the backline, and we did the same thing on King's Row. Good adjustment from Dia there. One player shutting him down, that's what they needed. They didn't necessarily have to let Fleta into that position. And now Jaehong finds Otto from a very compromising position. He has Transcendence, but he wants to save this one. Get Soul in position, then let it rip, and now that's 2 for him. Jaehong starting to see Sage of the old player that he was, playing that J-Long game out here, and now they're going to process forward. If the Ultron gets much done here, man, I think they're pretty much screwed.
And this is still like that same fight where they didn't push on forward and really take an advantage of getting those picks early as Gregory tries to launch a self-destruct onto the payload. Doesn't work out. Otto will fall. This will be Fearless getting stunned up, and that'll be Seoul Dynasty completing the map. Only 53 seconds left in the time bank, but that play is a great example of like what could take Shanghai from where they are to a team that can give a lot of other teams trouble, where if they push on forward, use that aggression, because they're very good when they play aggressive, especially behind some of these ultimates. If they're able to do that, they'll definitely level up as a team.
See how this went down earlier on. This was on that second stage. As obviously Seoul are just pounding through. Gambler, of course. Slap with the staff. It's like Gandalf on a bad day. Good to see. And of course, that Discord orb was, as we mentioned before, Jaehong had made sure he, was going to be on Ado that whole time. So essentially, that was 3 versus 1 for poor Ado. Was struggling to make ends meet, trying to get into that backline.
Well, I feel like Ado is in a tough spot because Dia is not picking up the kills needed on Widowmaker.
Me too.
Like, I mean, that kind of forces Otto's hand, right, where he needs to go into that backline, and going up against, whether it's Brigitte or you're dealing with both supports in Zunba in the back. There's not really much Otto can do there, right? I mean, he actually did a decent job. I mean, he finishes with 5 final blows, but still, it's just a lot of pressure to put on the guy.
That's why Seoul had made that switch as well. Brigitte just to prevent that Tracer from really having easy access, and from there, Shanghai kind of had to do it with just Dia, who, in all fairness, did manage to find those couple of picks towards the final moments, but we saw them falling apart before Seoul even had to use their Transcendence. Jaehong found a quick double, and that was it.
Do you like this from Shanghai, playing their own Pharah into Flutter?
I think there are other ways to try and shut down an enemy Pharah, and honestly, I don't think something like... You can't just say McCree is a counter to Pharah. You can't necessarily say Widow is a counter to Pharah, because you can play around those sort of sidelines. Look, I'm not against it. They just need to know that they need to work around Flutter. Now, does Shanghai try and go for a wide flank? Do they get Ado in position over that right side building? Because I think she's still very good on Orisa-based compositions if she can get around that barrier. She definitely wrecks the Junkrat.
I just think in the way that Shanghai plays, you just take another resource away from Fearless that's going to go up and try and help him dive into the high ground.
Well, I don't love the Winston here, no. Like, you play Ryan here, you kind of want to against the Junkrat.
But if he's going to play Winston, then you would like to have like a Genji here, right, to push with him.
Yeah, you should play Ryan Zaya if you're Shanghai. Right. In my humble opinion, I think just to get value out of Keed's sort of spam damage and Kuki's. There's so much spam here from Seoul. And you're going to play, you're playing into the choke anyway. You know you're going to get bombarded and it's going to be painful to get through. So why not at least try and get something back on that transaction that more often involves your blood being traded in for their kills.
I'm shocked. I feel like Shanghai has not really played a ton of Ryan Zarya when Gegri has a really sick Zarya.
Yeah, it's often Ado that actually plays a Zarya and not Gegri. We saw that in the first map actually. Gegri was still playing the Diva actually, and that triple tank setup. So I don't mind this from Ado. He's pretty patient, but Fletter's not being pressured by Dia. There's not much pressure there. Dia needs to open up first. You saw that Seoul, their sequencing was good because Fletter flanked aggressively. He found Dia first, and that was what enabled Wakid to play aggressively on Pharah. We need to see Dia be more proactive here into trying to outgame Fletter, but it might not really be the case now. We do see the Genji switch, so more of a dive now from the Shanghai Dragons. I don't love this against this comp from Seoul. I don't like it.
And Fleta played that really smart, as he just kind of like hid in the buildings, and then Otto just had no idea where he was. Needed to actually come down, got a call out from one of the teammates, pokes out around the corner, an easy shot there. So now it's going to be very difficult to look at this position that Fleta can play. Who is going close to him?
There is still Dia here, so he actually switched back to the Widowmaker. So this is like a quasi dive. By that I mean not very effective dive, especially with the sort of Widow being freed up. Lost their mercy. I don't know, Matt. It seems like we're seeing half compositions, right? Like a mashup, and they're kind of going in different directions. It's a divergent philosophy that Shanghai are sort of employing.
It's like you have now Fearless and Dia. They're both going to get staggered out here. It's, Fearless actually forced to use Primal Rage just to stay alive.
Super doesn't care. If he loses his mech to that, he just self-destructs and gets a new one back. Yeah. He's not being pressured whatsoever. Gegari now is. That Discord orb from Jaehong was really well employed, actually. And look at this great awareness by Zumba. Make sure the Fearless can't get in there. But despite that, Dia finds an all-important pick. He gets it. Kuki's taken down. He had to back away from his shield. And even though he's being brought back, I think Solo don't have enough players here.
Yes, Dia hits a big shot as well onto Fleta. So once they get rid of that Widowmaker, and they get rid of Kuki playing Orisa in the front, they're able to win these fights.
So flashback. There's like, let's say back when we saw the Pharaoh Widow combination from Shanghai, Dia gets that pick then. I mean, it seems like it's an even quicker fight, and one where they don't have to use a bunch of ultimates. Maybe not even the Transcendence. Maybe not even. I mean, there wouldn't be a pulse bomb because Ado was playing Pharaoh, but still, perhaps they get it done just a bit quicker. remembering how quickly Seoul got through this map, you do want to try and mentally keep pace with them in your own way.
Now we see Seoul make a switch. Rakeen will play Genji here. So we have seen an increase of Widow Genji compositions, as Genji can obviously get to the high ground.
I think it started on Anubis, right? Stage 2, Stage 3 against like the Orisa-based comps because you wanted to get your Genji in the back to harass enemy Widows.
Dia getting the better of Flutter yet again.
See what King gets done here. So, okay, you trade that out. That's quite nice. They do lose the Flutter, but they bring it back up. And Dia's not in a resurrectable position right now. So they're going to have a man advantage going into this part of the fight.
That's why it's so nice to have a Zen as good as Jaehong is. Fearless and Otto jump into the back as Gambler's going for the res on Fleta. Zunba actually eats up a lot of the damage that Otto's putting down. And Jaehong just 1v1s Fearless there in the back, able to take him out.
I mean, Wakid surviving that is ridiculous. He runs headlong into 4 players, reflects, or deflects, should I say, hoping to find a support. Doesn't get that, and still manages to get out. The timing was great from Gambler to keep him alive. That's super high value play. It's just slowing the Dragons up so much.
So this is where you would like to potentially even see Otto play Genji, give a little bit of help to Fearless on the high ground. That's going to be a pulse bomb, doesn't really get anything.
Defense matrix on point there from Zunba.
Yep, Wakid actually uses his Dragon Blade here. Forces out Transcendence at least. So
that is super value. That's super worthwhile. As a defensive team, to force out that Transcendence and then still have Fleta get kills on players that aren't inside that healing, you're getting everything you want right now as Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm interested why they're staying on Tracer here. As you know, we see a lot of teams play Genji on this part of the map just because there's a ton of high ground. Otto's best hero is probably his Genji as well.
Right.
You can definitely make this work.
And like you're kind of, your routes as Tracer kind of telegraphed. You either play low ground with the rest of your team, or you have to go around the left-hand side. And like to get that high ground, you need to use stairs. Tracer doesn't have a jetpack. It doesn't work that way. So like you kind of know where the Tracer's going to be.
I want Tracer to have a jetpack now.
Yeah. That'd be kind of fun actually.
It was up to me, everybody.
Save that for Jetpack Cat. Jetpack Cat. Don't worry about that. Don't talk back if you whack. Fleta now up on the high ground. Bubble is put down there. You can see that by Fearless, which does create a zone for him to work through. But now that Transcendence from Seoul and that lack of Transcendence from Shanghai makes this almost impossible to win.
So Wakid with the dash through onto 2. That'll be both supports. As now we're down to 60 seconds remaining as Fleta trying to chase out Otto here.
I wonder where Otto will come from next. Probably exactly where.
Like you mentioned, he has 2 options, right? He can go underneath and around towards that backside, or he can kind of stay with his teammates through the street. I mean, if they see him come through the alley where the payload takes, you can clearly see if he's going to the stairs from the high ground.
It's just too dangerous against a Widow who had that sight line.
If you don't see him for a while in the street, you know most likely he's coming all the way around.
I don't mind this at all. Dia finds a moment when, you know, Fleta doesn't have the infra sight. I think he waits until he knows Fleta's finished with his, or perhaps he just used it when he had it. So now that's information Shanghai have that Seoul don't. You can see the Seoul are a bit cagey. Fleta's probably going to try and play a little bit safer with his sight lines, and Otto knows these guys are there. Perfect stick. Oh, he got 2, Gambler! Nice. Jaehong's not going to save you there. He's trying to get away from you. You got cooties, fam. Fleta now is going to get run down, and Otto finds 3. It's going to be Zumba to fall to Dia, and out of Self Strike, and the payload doesn't mean to do too much. Shanghai have kept themselves alive in this map, but only barely. And now they still need to get their second checkpoint, and then they'll have very little time to finish.
That is such a sick individual play, though, from Otto. Obviously, the infra sight used from Dia helps a lot, knows exactly who these players are, but man, the pulse bomb on a Gambler goes right into Jaehong, and then the 1v1 battle against Fleta. He'll take out 3 players on his own there. So, Otto, I feel like, is, you can make an argument, has been the brightest spot on the Shanghai roster. The amount of heroes he can play as a DPS is very impressive.
And this map, well, this game, this whole series especially. Look at that response, nicely done there. So we see the jump back in. After they lose Fleta, they respond by removing free field. So both teams are diving at this stage. You see no more Vegeta sort of being used here. Art is very low and will get run down. Didn't have a recall there, if I'm not mistaken. And Seoul to step back now. That Transcendence is super interesting because Fearless wasn't using a Primal Rage at all. Perhaps Jaehong was feeling threatened, but regardless, Seoul had already won that fight, so they can take a big step back now. Okay, it's a bit of win more, perhaps. Wakid finds Dia, but gets traded out there. The Transcendence from Shanghai doesn't save Dia. Doesn't look like it'll be resurrected either.
But you like that if you're Seoul Dynasty, because 20 seconds left, now you know they don't have either support ult. Another stick there from Otto.
Good, great defense matrix to get from Zunba. Make sure they can resurrect Fleta, get him back in the fight. Kuki was a bit low and jumps out. So Otto has carte blanche right now, but he runs straight into Fleta. They gave the Tracer a lot of room, but Otto mistook it as thinking he was safe, and he definitely was not. 7 seconds left, and Shanghai now, 1 by 1, are being removed from the equation. It's not a very complicated one at that. Seoul will stand on the point, and that will be a 4-0 in the series.
A lot like how I talked where Shanghai doesn't get aggressive after they get a pick or two. Right there, you saw the benefits of it from Seoul Dynasty. They get a pick early in the fight. Although they use their own Transcendence, what do? They use Dragon Blade. They have Wiki dive all the way into the back. He's able to get one. The other team uses their Trance. Then when they come off the spawn again, they have their own Valkyrie to close it out.
Jaehong's there thinking, mistaking his Transcendence for a Primal Rage. He's, missing the Jaehonky Kong days. But that's a very solid performance from Seoul. You can see now they're got a moment now to stand up and sort of chat with the Shanghai Dragons. And again, a lot of camaraderie between these two teams. Well, they are good friends. They hang out a fair bit, of course. There are a number of Korean players on this Shanghai Dragons roster, so plenty of love between the two. But Seoul, an important game, a milestone for them as well in a stage that they just have not gotten those big Ws. They get one here. They had to have it, but for Shanghai, that day where they have that win and their glory, it's not today, but when they have it, it will be sweet, Matt. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, Kuki played a nice game at main tank as well. Maybe he is the answer for Seoul Dynasty moving forward in that role, whether it's him or Miro. Doesn't matter today, though. It's going to be a win for Seoul Dynasty 4-0. We'll hear from the desk right after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everyone, to the desk here for the post game of the Seoul Dynasty versus the Shanghai Dragons. The Dynasty have toppled the Dragons 4-0, and the Dragons still remain winless in the Overwatch League. But again, we'll just have to look forward to the next one for the Dragons, or at least for the time being. For the Dynasty, though, this was a very important game. for them to win, because Lord knows a team called the Dynasty does not want to be a squad who loses to a team that's 0-35.
The Dynasty were always a team, you know, back when they played in Apex in Korea, they're playing these championships. They used to coast a little bit through the regular season and peak for the playoffs. So that we were kind of all assuming is going to be the game plan for Seoul. They need to make the playoffs though, and this is a good step towards doing that.
Yeah, they need to make the playoffs, and you know, a win here certainly puts them in a better position. Let's look at the highlights though for Li Zhang and Dorado as we jump into this. Li Zhang Tower, again, you know, kind of the same thing here, right? Signs of life from the Dragons, but really it was just Seoul in the driver's seat.
This was spicy. For me, in particular, Weekend has actually been performing much better than he usually does, which I'm a big fan of, right? Because now it's like, if he starts playing at this consistently now for the Seoul, they have a player that they can work around. They have a player that they can build around more towards the future now, working towards the playoffs. Because not only do they have Fletter and Munchkin, but Weekend can also, they can bring him out as a sort of like niche sort of strategy, you know, niche strategy, bring him out every now and then on the projectile rolls when it comes to that DPS. So that was promising to me, because in the past, we haven't seen too great things from him.
Sure, yeah. I think for the Seoul Dynasty, I was a little bit concerned looking at their first half performance because, yeah, they were winning, but it wasn't convincing. And when you're facing a team that is winless, you should be winning convincingly, right? Yeah. So for the Seoul Dynasty, who are already slumping, and we were talking about them slipping slowly down the tables, this second half performance was a bit more like what I was expecting, hoping for them.
Yeah.
They looked a little bit like more like they're all on the same page. You know, Wiki is now filling in for the Brigitte for them as well, which is previously something that Munchkin has been doing. Stuck with him this entire match, so I think it's a nice little match in the middle of their stage 4 here for the Seoul Dynasty to experiment with pushing other players in, running Kuki full time as well. We haven't seen him for a long time. And they've had these struggles for a while around the main tank position and just getting the most out of their DPS players, getting the most out of Brigitte. So I think this was a good match for them to experiment with that.
Ooh, yeah, I agree with you completely. And I feel like it's good now. Seoul, they've got their first win in stage 4. Now they can start building up upon that and start to really secure this playoff spot. But it's going to be tough because they're up against the competition that we're going to be witnessing, you know, straight after this match.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one for sure. But that's what I mean. We didn't actually expect it to be this tightly contested when it came to their division itself. We all assumed that it was essentially going to be a toss-up between Seoul and Valiant when it comes to the top points in the divisions now. And now we know Gladiators is now a really solid team in this stage in general as well now, looking forward towards the playoffs. So Seoul are really, they should still be sweating. They should still be...
Oh yeah, you're perspiring without a doubt.
Absolutely. You need to be applying that whatever body spray you use in the US. I don't know the brands.
We got Axe. Maybe you can say Lynx, you know, it's okay.
Yeah, could we?
You know, fun fact for the kids out there.
Lynx
you know?
effect.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're really looking for that sponsorship. So that is yes. I mean, obviously, when you have your DPS players kind of popping off the way that the Seoul Dynasty had toward the tail end of that game, it certainly helps to be able to get that victory. And you can make those experimental changes with your main tanks, like they've been doing. You know, with Kuki sitting there, like they just need to establish that, especially going in if they want to have a chance going into the playoffs.
Yes, they need to find a formula that works for them. And you can throw a load of different stuff when you're playing against Shanghai and rely on your fundamentals to carry you through it, which I think is what Seoul did for the majority of it. They didn't pull anything particularly flashy out. They didn't counter-strat them. They just rely on Shanghai playing themselves in some sense, which they have been doing all series, all tournament long, honestly. Yeah. So for Seoul, it's now about the future matches that they've got coming up. They're playing against the Gladiators, I think. Yeah. They're playing against the Shock. These are big games that they're going to be wanting to focus on because that's what pushes them into the playoff picture.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the Dynasty will have Florida as well as Boston and Philly coming up. And then, you know, for the Dragons, I mean, they have that potential again with Florida that they'll be facing next week.
Last chance saloon.
Last chance saloon. But it is going to be a challenge. Now let's take a look, though, at our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It is Wicked. That's right.
Big man himself.
And you know what? He deserved it, man. This guy had a stellar game here and was a difference maker in a lot of those team fights.
Yeah, for me personally, it was a toss-up between either Wiki getting it or Zumba. I feel like those two players in particular had a great game today, but in general, Wiki was playing at a level that we coming to expect of Seoul Dynasty players, you know, and now we're starting to see it come to fruition a little bit more. But he had a fantastic match, you know. I can't really fault any of his plays in general. He was getting away with murder a lot of the time, essentially, but you can pin that down to, you know, the drastic difference in skill they've had between them. But still, we're
very flexible player as well, which is very helpful in this meta. He's more flexible than Munchkin is, and Munchkin, his main two heroes of Tracer and then the Widowmaker overlap with Fletter in terms of the Widowmaker. So Wicked, possibly a better DPS duo alongside Fletter moving forward.
Yeah, well, they're going to need you to do your stretches, basically, in this meta. So there you have it, your player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. Congratulations to Wicked. But that is going to wrap it for the post-game here for the Dragons and the Dynasty. Coming up next, though, I think everyone here knows what we're waiting for. It's the Battle of Los Angeles. The Gladiators versus the Valiant. I think we're ready to see this place be on fire, baby. That's what I like to see. We'll see you on the other side for this intense matchup.